So this is part 3 of the Corvette build, and I'm sort of flitting about from different parts of the ship, just trying out my soldering skills really. So this is the platform that the main gun at the front of the ship sits on. I thought I'd try this out because it's quite a complicated construction, and the soldering required is different from what I've been doing on the previous parts. Now this was a disc of brass that's been cut out of the fret, and these holes in it here have been folded down, and you'll see these struts at the bottom. Now, I'm trying a 2-camera setup at the moment, so let's just switch to the other camera, and there you go. So you can see how these fold down and form these pieces here. Now the centerpiece was a flat piece of brass that I've had to anneal by heating it up and then roll it around a piece of doweling in order to get it to a circular section. Now it's almost entirely circular apart from one flat spot here, which is right by the joint, but I just couldn't get that to roll to a curve. But it doesn't really matter because it's hidden underneath. Once this is on the deck of the ship and there's stuff around the outside, you're not really going to see that at all. And you can see where I've you can see the soldering or the soldering marks there in silver. I'll just pin that up a bit closer. So and they're relatively clean. They might need a little tiny bit of filing off, but I'm happy with those, and it's really strong because obviously it's been soldered together. The sort of difficult part of this now, though, is that I've got this other part here, which is the face of the platform. And this has got the detail on of the walk, the sort of tread plate, and this is literally how it came off the fret. It was flat on the fret, but the minute I cut it out, it bent to this shape, and I think that's on account of this being super thin, and then you've got these sort of thicker pieces here, which is obviously deform the shape of the brass, but it does fold flat. Now the challenge here is going to be, I've got to match these small holes up to these small holes here, and I'm going to have to get it on in such a way that I get one edge attached like this, and then obviously I'll have to gradually introduce that onto there and stick it down. Now I don't think soldering is the answer here, because obviously I can't solder those two pieces together, so I am going to have to glue this. However, let's just switch to the other camera. And this piece, although it's a long flat piece at the moment, you can see it's got some bolt detail on it. This actually wraps all the way around this, so it goes on like this, and then the whole thing has to be bent around. So I think this is the candidate for soldering to the edge of this, but this is going to have to be glued down first. And I think as I attach this, I'll have clamps on this in order to prevent it from sort of delaminating, because the heat from the solder might affect the glue that's holding it down. But I think once the whole thing's in place, it's going to be quite a strong construction. What I'm, because I'm not fairly new to the video side of things, but I want to really start being able to sort of show stuff under construction here rather than after I've put everything together. So I'm going to try some editing on this video, and hopefully we'll be able to sort of see it in the various stages about how it's done. And at some point, probably not on this one because it is quite fiddly to do, I might show off some of my newly found soldering skills. So I'm going to try and edit now and see if it works, and we'll see where we get to. So back in a moment. So we're back, and I've managed to get the top piece on. It's very, very shiny now because I've had to polish some of it out with some steel wool. So if you're going to use any steel wool on this, you want to use this kind of variety, which is 4-0 or 4-0. It's what French polishers use for their, you know, so when they're polishing furniture and things like that. So that's why this is so, it's almost like a mirror, but it is glued together now, and I've got rid of there was a seam around the edge. We'll switch cameras again, have a look. So you'll see that that'll pick the seam up just about. You can just about see the seam there, but I've used clamps all the way around to get rid of it. And the only downside is, and it may not pick it up on here, you can see it to the naked eye, there's a few areas, like there's a line in it there, you can just about see it, looks like a little bit like a crease. Because this is so thin, and the way I've had to apply the glue does what's called telegraph through the surface, so you can actually see where the line of glue is underneath. Now I can remove that by gently sanding that face there, and then sort of polishing it back up, so it will come out. And I think by the time the whole thing's painted and it's had a few, you know, a couple of coats of primer and you know, the top coat on, it's not going to be that visible. You know, that'll come out. But if you're thinking of building this kit, it's something you might want to consider, because it's I did suspect that might happen. It's something that happens sometimes with veneer on timber, that the glue line shows through because the you know, the glue's on the substrate, and the top surface is so thin. This is like a foil on the top, so the glue dries and it doesn't have time to spread out, and you can see the line of the glue. So but overall it's okay, but it looks a little tiny bit deformed at the moment. By the time that rim goes on, then it should solve that issue. And looking at this here, this is the piece that goes around the sides, that wraps around. There is actually, let's go back to the other camera. There is actually a groove. You can see the groove in this that will take the edge of that plate, or more or less. And as I said, I'm going to be putting, I'm going to be soldering this on, so it should result in a nice strong piece that you know, isn't just going to sort of suddenly spring apart like it would if it was if we use super glue. So that's really just a quick video of you know, this kind of technique, and I'll just keep adding to the videos as we go along, and you know, I'll move on to something else next. This is when this is finished, it has railings around it. Obviously there's all the gun shield and everything to build out of this as well. So I'll jump back on this on the video once I've made a bit of progress on it. Okay, so here's the finished piece with the wraparound edge all the way around it. It's going to close up. Here we go. So this was a lot easier to do than I thought it was going to be honest. You can see on the inside the line of solder running around the inside edge, and as I say, there was a groove running in this strip that allowed this plate to sit inside it or locate, so that, you know, you've got some kind of positive location. So what I did, I let's get the reflection off it there. You can see a very faint pencil line there running through the center of that hole there. That's the sort of center of the front of the platform. And I also marked the center of the of this sort of apron piece here. And then basically I've been doing my soldering on just a cheap wooden cutting board. Basically I lined them up and sort of held it still vertically like that, and then tacked it on with a little bit of solder, and then gradually sort of rolled it round, and as I did I kept tacking it on and joining the solder together, and eventually all the way round, and they meet very neatly at the back there. It's almost invisible. You can see a little tiny bit of solder showing on the edge there, and I'm really pleased with how that's come out. You can see if I turn that around, this upside down obviously, it's come out really well. Very smooth, no kinks in it. It's a nice tight fit. I mean, the precision of these parts is fantastic because the measurement is perfect where it meets at the back around the disc, and so that's that part now complete. You can see it's got tabs on the bottom here and here where it locates into the deck, I'm quite pleased with the way that's come out. So what I'm going to do next, now I've got this kind of close-up setup going here, I'm going to do a little video next of how I'm soldering. I'm not saying, you know, my sort of method is the right way or the wrong way or whatever, but it seems to work for me, so I'll do that. So anyone who's a little bit afraid of soldering, then maybe they can have a look what I'm doing and sort of follow my lead. Just switching back to this view for a minute. One really strange thing I've noticed is I mentioned that this kit, this Revell kit, is the Platinum Edition, and it comes with this photo etch sheet. It's nothing like the level of photo etch you get with the set that I'm using from Great Little Ships, but it does show this. Now, I'd never taken this out of the wallet. It was in the plastic bag like this with the etch on the back, and I just slid the etch out to have a look. But on opening this, because I've now discovered that some of the deck I will be using, there's a section at the front here that is planked, and there's also the part, bring that in a bit closer, there's this part here which is actually the sort of top of the bridge. I'll be using that as well because they do actually look better than the brass versions that would have to be painted. But the other thing I noticed is all these parts here, which are turned brass, and if you turn it over, and this is something I'd never done because I'd never really taken it out of the box, it's got instructions. It looks very like this was made by somebody like Pontos, because it just looks. I did a build of the Titanic with the Pontos add-ons, and the layout of this looks exactly like the Pontos layout. So I suspect it may have been made by them. And it's got all these brass barrels for the guns, and there's some mass parts and things like that. The strange thing is it's not in this kit. Now, going way back when I bought this, and as I say, I did actually start this in lockdown, and I actually got the Great Little Ships upgrade set first, and then I struggled to find a Revell or a Matchbox Corvette, and I bid on a couple on eBay and lost out, and I thought, well, I'm not going to get one of these. I'll have to have a look in some of the shows that I go to, and then this one popped up on eBay, and I bought it, and I think it was actually second hand. I can't remember now because it's that long ago, but I think it was sort of being sold as new. but presumably whoever had it before me took these parts out. I don't think maliciously. They've probably just taken them out and forgot to put them back in the box. So it's a shame, because it would have had these brass parts in. Having said that, all those parts are replicated in the set that I have, so I'm not too bothered. And given that I'm actually going to use some of the decks out of this now, I won't really be selling this on as I thought I would, because I'm going to use pieces out of it. Although I may put the etch up for grabs at some point, because obviously somebody might benefit from that. But the other strange thing about the etch is there's very little etch there when you look at it. There's some sort of detail parts for some of the sort of the hatches and windows and things, and there's all these little scuttles for the windows on the side of the hull, which I've already added from the other set. But most of this set's taken up with photo etched railing, which in reality doesn't look very good because it's flat instead of, you know, the stanchions being round. So it's a bit of a sort of mixed bag, this, really. I mean, I suppose if you were happy with the way these railings look, and I'm sure they look fine when they're on, then that'd be it. But, you know, given that I've got the cast metal stanchions and I'll be using wire and you know, thread and things like that in them, then this is a little bit redundant. So but you know, the photographs here look pretty decent. So, but there you go. So just one more strange thing I discovered. So so going back to this, I'm actually going to tackle there's a sort of surround with some stanchions, and then this mesh going around the outside, and you can put it in the raised or the lowered position. I'm going to put it in the position because it just looks that much better. And there's also these gun shields. There's an optional gun shield depending on which ship you're portraying. So I'll check that out and decide what's happening with those. The thing I'm not looking forward to is all these parts here, which are all identical, and these are the cradles that take the white metal ammunition that sits all the way around this. So all these little tiny slots, you can see those. I'll get the let me switch cameras again. You'll see these slots here. All these little slots are for those cradles. So we'll see how they go together. But overall, really pleased with this. So as I say, I'll do another short video, possibly when I do the gun shield, or something else that's just, you know, fairly boxy and structural, just so you can see the technique I'm using for the soldering. So I hope it's helpful to some people. I've had quite a few positive comments on this, and you know, people are pleased to see this being built, because like a lot of these very, very complex kits, people buy them, put them away, and then never build them, either because they don't feel they've got the skills to do it, or they're sort of put off by the amount of work involved. And it's not easy. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's an easy task, but if you take your time, then you know, it is possible to do a decent job of it. So hopefully you'll have a look at the next few videos and see it starting to take shape. And as I say, I'm going to tackle all these sort of small areas first, so that the you know, it sort of keeps it interesting, rather than sort of concentrating on something that, you know, that the massive size of the thing, you can get a bit lost, really. So we'll see how it goes. But thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Okay, so thanks.